Today I'm taking a look at the third of the single vineyard Riserva Barbarescos from the Produttori del Barbaresco. So this particular vineyard is Montestefano, and that's the 2017 vintage. They say here that 14,446 bottles were made, and this is bottle number 3,574. The cooperative here was established in 1948 at a time when Barbaresco was really quite poor, and the local parish priest encouraged a group of families to join together and take some of the support that the government was offering and form a cooperative. And he supported them also in the fact that he allowed them to use the church, and evidently the crypt was where they made the first 3 vintages before they managed to establish a winery. Today the cooperative is massively successful. They have 51 members and over 100 hectares of prime Barbaresco vineyard. So not surprisingly, they're one of the more highly recognised cooperatives in the world. The cooperative's reputation is built on these single vineyard reservas, and they have 9 prime vineyards that they use for these. And for each of these wines, that make up about 30% of their production in a good year, they will produce them all in exactly the same way for a year, so that you can see between the 9 vineyards what the influence of the vineyard and its surroundings and its individual microclimate has on the Nebbiolo variety, because they're all just Nebbiolo, and how that influences the style of wine to make each one different and individual. Montestefano, for instance, is one of the vineyards with more limestone, more calcium in them than some of the others. I mean, most have a degree of limestone in the soil. It's southeast facing. It's at somewhere between about sort of 250 and 300 metres above sea level, and it's normally one of the last picked vineyards that the cooperative deals with. As a result, it tends to have quite firm, tightly wound tannins, and in style, the notes I've seen suggest that it is actually the wine that is closest in style to a Barolo. In terms of winemaking, the wines are tank fermented. There's temperature control to make sure the fermentation doesn't go above 30 degrees. Cuvation, the skin contact goes on for 28 days, and the wine does its malolactic conversion in the tank. It's then run into oak, but into large old oak, so between 25 and 50 hectolitres, and to be Riserva, it has to stay in there for 30 months. So these are wines that take a long time to mature, and they have that influence, not necessarily giving oak flavours, but allowing the slow influx of oxygen, which softens the tannins, smooths them, and helps them to marry into the wine. So let's have a look at the wine and see what we think of it, shall we? I mean, this perhaps has a slightly darker colour than the other 2 of these single vineyard wines I've looked at recently, but it's still, while it's a dark ruby, it's not actually a deep dark ruby. I can see straight through it. It's just got a medium intensity of colour. As I swirl the wine, we can see it very quickly forming tears on the side of the glass. Like the others, it's 14.5% alcohol, so that's not surprising, and I'm expecting a tannic wine as well. So there's plenty of viscosity there to cause those tears on the glass. Let's have a look at the aroma, shall we? While there are delicate red fruit and perhaps some floral notes behind it, this has much more of an earthy and perhaps a forest floor, a dried leaf sort of note to it. And it almost seems like there's a sort of a hint of licoricey anise, hinting at some concentration in there. So let's taste and see what we think. wine is of course dry, but it's very structured, whereas the other of these Riserva Barbarescos I've tried had a lovely front of mouth freshness that's enhanced the sort of the red fruit and the delicate floral notes in the front of the mouth. This is different. We're getting the structure at the front of the mouth. There's a fairly dry, slightly dusty, coffee-ish note coming, but then you get an interplay between the lovely fresh acidity and the fruit that's coming through, and all of a sudden lifted above that those notes of bitterness, and given a lovely mouth-watering aspect as a result are some beautiful almost sort of red plum, slightly jammy plum notes and lifted floral character. I mean, classically for Nebbiolo you'd say rose petal, but actually this has got more weight than a rose petal, but it's still very perfumed. I mean, so it's making me think of peonies, for instance. The alcohol is giving a little bit of roundness to the mid-palate, and it's helping the structure seem slightly spicy towards the back of the mid-palate. And then there's richness. There are hints of sort of licoricey concentration and anise. This is a much more structured wine than the others. It's medium up to medium full-bodied. It's not a huge full-bodied wine. There is plenty of that fine-grained tannin, and it really is very fine-grained indeed. And there's something lovely in the interaction, as I was saying earlier, lifting the fruit, of the sort of the bitterness of the tannins and the lovely lifting acidity. It's giving the wine a freshness, and it makes you think that this is a wine that you could very happily age for 20 years. It's a wine which will soften with time. It's less accessible than some of its fellows that are more perfumed and more elegant. This will take time to soften, and during that time it'll start to develop, and there'll be more, possibly more rich, generous, sort of dried fruit sort of notes coming out in the mid palate. But this is an exceptional wine, as all these wines have been. So that is Montestefano 2017 Riserva from the Produttori del Barbaresco. I would certainly suggest that if you want to treat yourself, these are wines that are well worth searching out. They're not cheap. Do have a look in the link below for pricing and availability, which will take you to the Wine Search website where you can find that out. Do please leave your comments below. We'd love to hear what you think about these wines and other wines you've tried. Also, do like, share, do please join up and follow us on YouTube. We'd love to have you join us. And having said that, whether you follow us or not, I do hope that at some stage in the near future you'll be able to find time to join us for another one of these video tastings. So thank you very much for watching, and I hope we'll see you again soon. Bye now.